I'm excited.
Oh, are you?
Oh, yeah.
well,
I always love hearing what kind of questions you have for me. So excited.
This is Backstage Stories, a brand new project to help tell the stories of singers and songwriters and musicians that are playing right down the street from you guys every single day. The goal here is to help tell their story, of course, but also introduce you to maybe somebody you don't know, maybe your next best favorite artist. And to start it off, I'm honored that Olivia Harms is here. How are you? You've had an exciting year.
Oh my gosh, it's been really exciting. It's been super busy, but I'm thrilled to be here and like one of your first guests.
This is episode 1. This is
I'm
all
so
you.
honored. Thank you. I'm excited.
So let's talk about the year so far. And this is kind of a loaded question, but what's the highlight been so far?
Well, it'll be a two-parter, that way we can the highlight has been musically and like career-wise that my single that I've had out, top 5, Texas Red Dirt, like that's amazing. This Ain't My First Rodeo has done really well, and it's been really cool to see a song that I solo wrote. It was the first solo write in a really long time. It was really cool to see it do so well and have so many people enjoy it.
So exciting.
Yeah. And then personally, personal life, I got married, I'm off the market now. But yeah, that was really great. I am officially been married for almost 3 weeks. So
how's it going?
It's going well. He hasn't left me yet, so yep, it's all good. I can finally let my crazy out of the bag, because I've got the ring.
That's the next question: is has anything really changed yet? But you're letting
Not really. The only thing that we're really trying to sort out is, I have a house here in Texas.
Yeah.
And he has a ranch in Northern California. And so it's been really tricky.
What's the biggest change so far for you getting married now?
Yeah, we both live really busy lifestyles. He's very busy. He's a rancher, and he has a fabrication manufacturing company where he welds and builds flatbeds and things. So if you need flatbeds, I hook you up. But I'm very busy on the road, and so our lives are pretty good to just hey, we meet up when we can. But I think the hardest thing for us will be figuring out where we're both at all the time, because I have a house here in Texas up near Fort Worth, and he's based out of Northern California. That's where his ranch is, and it's pretty hard to move a ranch. So we're just kind of pick it up.
I thought he was just being lazy. I don't know.
So we're figuring that part out, but as long as we get to spend some quality time together here and there, we're doing good.
With the success of this latest single that you've had, Not My First Rodeo, tremendous song. I love it. And we'll talk more about your music here in a little bit, because I've got a recap from a previous conversation we had about kiddie pool. But talking about This Ain't My First Rodeo, have you seen, have the dividends from the success of that song, have you seen those yet?
I have seen some of them, it's always really interesting to see. Of course, as a songwriter and an artist, you get royalties when people stream you on Spotify and Apple and all the things. Not much. Yeah, I always tell people, if you want to help me make $5, just go on to Spotify, put it on repeat before you go to bed, mute your phone, and it'll earn me $1 overnight. Yeah. Woo!
These are real facts, okay?
But no, it's been really cool, and just to have people that are hey, I heard this song, we want to get you in our festival, or we want you to come play the rodeo. That's really cool. That's what it's all about is, as an artist, it's so fun to see your song chart, and that's a little, trophy in your soul. But really, my goal is to get people to hear the music, people that haven't heard it before, exactly like what we're doing here. That's what it's all about, is just getting more people to listen to my music, because that's why I'm here. I'm not here for number ones, as cool as that may be. I just love my job, and I want to make good music for good people. Yeah,
you said festivals. Do you have, I know we're at the kind of end of festival season right now during this taping, but do you have any set for next year?
I definitely do.
Good.
Yes, they're coming up.
Has Newport Folk Festival, Newport Folk, you need to get her.
I haven't talked to them yet, so please reach out. Yeah, I'd love to.
Absolutely, every time. You'd be great there, and you're familiar with them, right?
I am. Yeah.
So let's dive into it. I mentioned last time we talked, you had just released Kiddie Pool. It was another project I was working on, and you'd asked me a question of, because Kiddie Pool actually has 2 versions.
Right.
The one on the album, Rhinestone Cowgirl, but then the second one that came out as a single.
Right.
And you asked me, what do you think of it, right? And I did the typical political, I like both of them, right?
Yeah.
I thought about it after that, and it's been bugging me ever since. and here's what it is. I think both of them are great representations of you at different stages in your career and different points of your life. I like the original first, the first one, because it has little things in there like cow dogs. And I know you've lived so long with your cow dogs, and I like that personal touch a little bit better than hound dogs.
Yes.
So it just, and there were a couple other things that I noticed in there, and it's literally been sitting in the back of my head. Like I'll be laying at night, I was like, I gotta, how do I tell? I can't send it over a text. This can't be a text. This has to be in person. So.
Well, now you can have like the relief. It's off your chest.
It is. It makes me feel better. But
Good.
But that's not to say that the single version of Kiddie Pool wasn't another great representation of your work and who you are as a singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
But just a different stage of your life. It almost feels like it was a little bit more mature-ish, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, because I feel like in the single version, you don't talk about turning the lights off and skinny dipping in that version, but you do in the first version, which I like that. But you're married now. We can't talk about that.
We can talk about it. I wrote the song, it's part of the story. But I'm glad. Yeah, there's definitely that difference, which is kind of fun because as a musician, you don't really do that very often where you record two different versions of the same song. Usually it's just one and done. And so that was neat to have like these two versions and gauge what people kind of felt. But I agree, I think that the one it's like a little bit more upbeat and I talk about my cow dogs, and that one's probably a little bit more my favorite also, just because I feel like it's a little bit better representation of how I heard the song. And then sometimes you go into the studio and people will say, okay, you really like this song, we want to make some tweaks and maybe we hear it this way, and so you do it that way and it's fun to change it. But both are great. I'm proud of both of them.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
I have to say I agree with you.
And it made it in, that was your highest rated for charted.
It was top 10.
Yeah, for 2023, and made it into the top 200 or 100 actually for all Texas country music just last year. So, good stuff.
So awesome. Yeah, I'm so lucky that people, are listening to the music and liking the music and playing it. That's all I could hope for.
Do you have any plans soon, or have you been, I know you've been dealing with wedding stuff and all of that here this last month or so, but any studio in your future?
Yeah, so actually there's some music that's been we got in the studio last November of 2023. And so it's kind of just been like sitting there, and AJ Vallejo produced it.
Really?
Great work. He's awesome. And then, it's just kind of getting finished up, and I was trying to gauge the right time of like when to release some new music. And so hopefully this fall we'll be sending y'all some new music, because there's 4 tracks that are sitting there ready to come out. So
how excited are you for them?
I'm very excited. Yeah, it's time for some new music. Rhinestone Cowgirl came out in 2021, and the whole album. I know, isn't that crazy?
Wow.
And then we released the singles off of it. Of course, I did things a little bit backwards, but there's no rules in music. You just do it how you want. And so then we did some singles off of the album, and that went great. And then, of course, this ain't my first rodeo has done awesome, but it's time to keep that new music coming out. So there'll be 4 more in the future, so stay tuned. Very Olivia Harms, rodeo, honky-tonk style of music.
And she's very active across social media. We haven't mentioned it yet, but be sure you find her on Instagram, Facebook, all those good places. Olivia Harms is the handle on everything, right?
Yeah, handle on everything.
And before we go any further, I do have to thank the ladies of Libation for hosting us for this episode number 1 with Mrs. Olivia Harms.
I know. It's funny. The first gig that we did after I got married, of course, we've had questions like, have you gone on a honeymoon yet? No. Summer is such a busy time. I know. So I'm like, let's just do a mini moon. We did 2 nights at the Oregon coast, and then back to work we went. But the first gig that I played with my band, the Roadrunners, after I got married, someone came up to him and was like, are you Mr. Harms?
What was his response? This is very important.
He was like, Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that one's mine.
That's
so
too
he's
awesome.
a good sport about it.
You mentioned about working with AJ Vallejo out of
Yeah.
Austin for these next set of songs that are headed to y'all's way here before the end of the year. But made me wonder, when it comes to the artist and the people you've worked with and the lineage that you have, which, by the way, hi, Mama Harms. I hope you're doing well. She introduced me years ago to her mother. Wonderful people, just wonderful people. But with that lineage and all the knowledge you know, the other artists, are there any particular that you look up to, that you kind of watch, that, okay, that was really smart. I'm going to try and do something like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a few females on the tier,
Sure.
right? Like for me, number one, aside from Mama Harms, is Dolly Parton. I love her. Like everything that she's done, she can't do anything wrong. I don't.
Even this hard rock album that came out a couple of years ago?
It's different, but somehow she still pulls it off, and she's still Queen Dolly. So, I mean, she's right up there. I really like what Miranda Lambert has done and kind of gone back to her roots. And a lot of her new music has been very traditional, very Texas, and I've loved hearing that. And it's been really cool. And then a lot of our Texas girls, like Kylie Frey, I love her. She's incredible.
Louisiana, but okay.
Yep. Right over there. But yeah, it's just really cool to see them, and when I listen to their music, I'm like, oh, I really like this, or I like this song, how they got the hook of this song, and really clever. As a songwriter, it's cool to be like, dang, I wish I would have thought of that. But kudos to you, girl.
That segues to my next question. What do you see as the necessary next step in the career of the Olivia Harms?
It's just one of those funny things where I've hustled and I've worked, and you just got to keep going, because music is a tricky business.
It is.
It's got a lot of really cool highs, and then it's definitely got its valleys as well. But I think just trying to get onto more festivals and just continue to work and try to get my music out there where it can be heard, more people can listen to it. And if you are enjoying it, tell your friends, tell them, hey, check out Olivia Harms. But yeah,
stop by the merch table.
Yeah, stop by the merch table, wear the swag. Yep, but just keep traveling with the band. The Roadrunners and I have had a really great summer. Just touring around lots of rodeos, lots of festivals, fairs.
I saw.
So, I mean, as long as we just keep doing that, and maybe little blessings from the man upstairs, sprinkle his goodness on it, and
couldn't hurt.
There we go.
For sure. How much pressure do you still feel at doing this as long as you have, because you've done this a while, to continually have new music coming out?
There is that pressure. I mean, every musician, I think, just wants to give their fans something to look forward to.
Yeah.
I think when I look at people that I love their music, I'm like, oh, when's their next song coming out? You look forward to it. But I also think you have to give yourself grace and hey, I've been busy. You have to balance your personal life in there a little bit too, which can be, sometimes you just feel like, there's no 9 to 5 in a musician's job.
Never stops.
It's it never stops. You're always on the clock. You're always thinking of things that you should be doing or trying to further your career one way or another. And sometimes you just have to say, it's okay to just not be a musician right now. You can just be a person and sit on the couch and watch a movie and turn off your brain and all the other things, all the pressures that you feel and the things that you'd like to accomplish. So, I mean, that's definitely something that's present. I think if you are an ambitious musician with lots of goals, like I am, I don't think that it's something that's easy to turn off or ever goes away. But you just got to find a healthy way to manage the goals and the pressure that you feel to keep putting out good music.
You talk about taking a day off, but you only took 2 days off for your own wedding. I mean, when was the last time Olivia Harms had a true day off?
It's been a little while, but that's okay. It's part of being a crazy singer, I guess.
Touring musician, because you've been all over the place.
Yeah, and you find moments in the days off, right? Tomorrow I don't have to play until the evening, and so I'll just kind of sleep in and maybe go check out some shops, do girl stuff, watch a movie, whatever, until it's time to play. So you got to take the minutes where you can, or an hour or two, and chill out. And I also find a lot of joy in like exploring new places, you know? How grateful am I that I get to travel?
You get to go everywhere. You get to explore everything.
All kinds of adventures. They might not be like a full weekend like some people get to go on, but if I'm there for a day, you bet your sweet bottom I'm going to go check it out and see what they got going on in every little town.
What's the coolest thing you've seen so far this year?
Oh, this year, oh gosh.
What's a big adventure that sticks in your mind, other than your honeymoon in the Oregon coast?
Stuff. Yeah. The band and I spent a lot of time in Wyoming and Montana, and we had a blast. I mean, Jackson Hole, beautiful. If you haven't been to Jackson Hole, you should definitely go. We had a great time. We got to go to Cody, Wyoming, which is like also wonderful.
That's also kind of your backyard growing up there in Oregon. Well, I mean, I say backyard, you got to drive a little bit, but you'd never been?
I'd been like a time or two, but we really got to like have the day and like look around and enjoy. And I mean, just sitting there and, you know, we had a day off in Montana in Paradise Valley, and we got to just go to the river and sit there and have a ranch water and hang out before the show.
That's not a bad day.
No, sitting there and looking at the mountains, I was like, this is, you know, this is perfect. That's my time off, is when I can just sit there by the water, take it in, relax a little bit. It was definitely a highlight of where I've been this summer for sure.
Oh, really? Okay. We're not going to go into it, but alluding to a couple of things there, some life stress stuff, right? So just letting it flow down the river.
Yep, you just let it go, drink the ranch water, let it go, drink the ranch water. Perfect.
What on those days off where you get to watch a movie? What are you watching? What's your favorite? What's your go-to movie?
Oh, I'm a pretty like rom-com kind of gal.
Oh, okay.
You know,
I thought you were going to say Die Hard, but
nah, Die Hard. That's me.
Terminator 2.
Yeah, that is funny though. Now that I'm married, you know, is you have to like really kind of share the movie
Absolutely.
choices.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, we can't watch How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days every night. I guess we can't do that. Or like The Notebook, and he's like, okay, you know, we'll watch it because he's the best.
You have to compromise, all right?
Yeah, but now I've had to watch some like movies or some comedy shows here and there, and they're good, but you know, I like my stuff better.
When was the last time you went to the movie theater?
You know what? I actually went this summer, which was super random. I had a gig get canceled due to wildfires, which is tragic. But one of my friends, I texted her because I hadn't seen her in ages, and I was like, I'm going to be back in town tonight because I don't have to go to Central Oregon and play at this little festival that they're having. The wildfires are coming, and so they shut it down. And any chance you want to go do something? And she said, well, my husband and I are going to go see Twisters, whatever it is.
I wanted to see that,
And I was like, all right, sure, let's go. And I had a blast. It was super fun. We sat there.
Good movie?
It was good.
Okay.
They did a really good job. And I have to say, I loved the soundtrack. Like for me, that was what drew me in the most, is they had Miranda Lambert and Lainey Wilson and Luke Combs and Tyler Halverson. And I mean, all these great people. The soundtrack, if you haven't listened to it, you should go, like find the motion picture soundtrack, whatever it is. And
I got to see the movie first, but yeah,
I really enjoyed it, and they did a good job. And I was like, yeah, I'd watch that movie again. So I have been. It was super random. It had been years before that, but
really okay. Well, I got my wife wants to drag me to the movie, I don't know, once a month or something. You know, not too bad, but it's always such a miserable experience for me. I get next to the fellow who I had a guy, last year we went, who took an entire phone call in the movie theater.
Oh my word.
Yeah, I answered the phone like...
Don't do that. That's bad.
Absolutely. And it's one miserable, I don't know, I haven't enjoyed it. So.
Oh, that's awful. Yeah, that's...
Yeah, it's no good for me.
No.
That and my TV's big enough at home.
Yeah. I get it. And then you can like go in your pajamas and drink a beer while
I don't have to put pants on, all that.
So nice.
All of that.
Yeah, all the comforts of home. But as a girl, I understand wanting to get dressed up, go on a date, be taken out. I know. But I'm like funny that way now that I'm like on the road all the time. I'm like, my date is similar. Stay home, let's make a big bowl of popcorn, I can drink my wine, and we don't have to go anywhere. Like, I don't want to go anywhere else.
Speaking of going out in these festivals and these things, do you actively go out and see live music even though you're on stage most of the time?
When I can, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, like, you know, last night I played at Do-Si-Do and I opened up for Jacob Stelly, and I will absolutely sit through a concert and listen to it whenever I can, because it's not something I get to do very often. So if I'm on the lineup, I will check out the rest of that.
Now, here's the big question. Are you out front with the people, or are you like me and spoiled and have to be backstage or side stage or in the sound booth, the front of house sound booth area where you get a little bit more elbow room?
It depends. Like last night, I had some friends that had come to the
Do-si-do's
show.
a beautiful venue anyway.
So I was like, I'll go sit out there.
Yeah.
And I love meeting the people too.
Okay.
Like I absolutely love being able to
Yeah.
see people, meet them, thank them. So I was out there.
Okay. What about music festivals? Same kind of thing?
Depends, yeah.
Okay,
I played at a big festival called the Oregon Jamboree, and I just walked around and saw like Ashlyn Craft. She played. She's awesome. I think Cole Swindell was the headliner, and you know he's a little bit more Nashville country for my taste, but we still went and listened and just stood out front. And you know I love it when people come up and be like, "You played earlier, didn't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Yeah, and they're like, "Well, you're out here?" Yes, of course I am. I'm like, oh. I want to come join the club, you know. I don't need to be cooped up backstage.
Go see what's happening everywhere else. Yeah.
Absolutely.
The excitement is out there, I will admit that. But,
yes, for sure.
Olivia Harms with us for episode number 1 with me for Backstage Stories. My name's Keegan. I'm your host for all of these in this project to help tell the story and introduce you to artists you might not know. And honestly, people I'm fans of. I love your music. When I started the Spotify playlist, Olivia Harms was the first one that popped in. Add. You got too many songs, frankly. There's a lot on there, but she is my first guest for this episode. Thank you again for being here.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure.
Last couple of questions before maybe I get you to play a song or two.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay. You know, talked a little bit before about your lineage and heritage in music and, you know, your mom's legacy and how you've picked it up and really run with it. You're standing on your own. You've made Olivia Harms a name unto herself at this point, at least in my mind.
Thank you.
But have you at all started, do other artists come up to you and ask you for information or, you know, tips? And are you mentoring at all?
I've done some.
So. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it when people come up and say like, hey, what's your suggestions or your advice? And you know, music is one of those really funny things where I don't know that there's a handbook or a playbook or rules.
Yeah.
You know, there's really not. The best advice that I can give or like the mentoring that I can share is, I think if you want to do it, you have to have thick skin. Like, you know, you have to be willing to work hard and you have to put music first, you know, like at least for the good first while. And that's, some people like turns them off and I totally understand, but I've had to miss so many friends' birthday parties, bachelorette parties, like kids' birthdays, fun weekend events because you always just have to say, I want to play music. And I have to play on a Friday and Saturday night. And that's usually when all your friends are gathering and, you know, hanging out. And so
the weekend is work time.
You miss a lot of those things. A lot of people will tell you no. You'll hear a lot of, hey, you're doing great. And you'll hear some like, you're not going to make it. Like that's just the reality of it. Yeah. So I tell everybody, if you want it, you are good enough. You got to work hard. You just go after it and don't sit around and wait for like the gigs to come to you. You got to go find them because there's going to be somebody else who's out there working just as hard as you are if you're not trying to find the opportunities for yourself. So you can do it though. I mean, if I can do it, anybody can.
You say that. Some tremendous advice to close out episode number 1 with Olivia Harms here at the Ladies of Libation offices. We have to thank them. I have to thank them for hosting and this beautiful backdrop. The city of Houston's actually come out from behind the mist here and find them online, ladiesoflibation.com. Remember, it tastes better when it's pretty. You like that?
I like that.
Which, by the way, I have to add, if you guys go to a place called Cactus Jack's and get the Kiddie Pool Collins, Olivia Harms is the inspiration for that.
I love it. Yeah, go have one for me. I would love that. Yeah. And then next time maybe we'll go have one. We can go to Cactus Jack's and do another one. And drink while we're on the job.
I love it. All right, thank you guys. Be sure you find Olivia Harms across social media. And while you're watching this on YouTube, please do me a favor and share this across those social media outlets and be sure and smash that subscribe button. If you like what you've got going on, your support means the world. And when I'm talking about support too, I do mean go out, see some live music, see Olivia Harms, find her online, and stop by the merch table, man. That's how you really help out artists and musicians that are out playing in venues right down the street from you guys every single day. All right, that's
Love it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
What'd you think? Did I do all right? This is
Amazing.
the first time in 8 months.
Oh my gosh, well, you did great.